There's a time of day here somewhere between when the noon meal clears and when the afternoon work picks back up that the English world has never quite figured out. You might call it a rest. We just call it living right. Most people I know on the outside, once they hit 60, start sleeping in two ways. Too little at night and too much at the wrong time. They doze off in the recliner for 2 hours after lunch, wake up groggy, can't fall asleep that night, and then wonder why their body feels 10 years older than it should. The doctors call it fatigue. They call it aging. Here, where I live, we have a different name for it. We call it a broken rhythm. And broken rhythms, my friend, are something we were taught to fix before they ever became a problem. My grandmother lived to 91. My grandfather made it to 96. Between the two of them, they raised 11 children, kept a working farm, and neither one of them ever owned an alarm clock. They didn't need one. Their bodies knew. And that knowing, that deep clockwork inside a person that tells you when to rise and when to rest and how long and in what way, that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. Because somewhere along the way, the modern world broke it. And most people after 60 are living inside that broken machine without even realizing it. What I'm going to share with you is not complicated. It is not expensive. You don't need a pill, a gadget, or a subscription to anything. What you need is the same thing my people have been doing for generations, passed down not through books, but through daily life. And by the time we are finished here, you are going to understand why the way you rest might be quietly stealing years from you, and what a small change to one ordinary part of your day can give back. Let me start with something that surprised even me when I was old enough to understand it. Here where I live, rest is not what most people think it is. The English world treats rest like a reward. You work hard, you earn a break, you collapse somewhere soft and stay there until you feel like moving again. We never thought of it that way. My father used to say that rest is not the absence of movement. It is the preparation for it. You don't rest because you are done. You rest because you are not done yet. That one idea changes everything about how you approach the afternoon hours of your life, and it changes what your body does in response. When I was young, around 10 or 11 years old, I remember watching my father come in from the fields right around midday. He didn't shuffle to the sofa. He didn't turn on anything. He sat down in a wooden chair, the same one that had been his father's, leaned his head back slightly, closed his eyes, and was quiet. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe a little less. When he opened his eyes again, he looked like a man who had just come back from somewhere peaceful. His hands were still, his face was easy. And then he stood up and went back out. No grogginess, no confusion, just ready. I didn't understand what I was watching then. I understand it now. He was doing something the modern world has largely forgotten how to do, and the cost of forgetting it shows up later in life in ways that most people attribute to age alone. It is not your age, my friend. It is the rhythm. Here is what happens inside your body when you rest the wrong way. And I want you to stay with me here, because this part matters more than most people realize. When you fall deeply asleep in the middle of the day, the kind of heavy sleep where you lose an hour or more, your body goes into a cycle. It was designed for the nighttime. Your temperature drops, your brain chemistry shifts, your heart rate slows in a way that, for a body over 60, takes effort to climb back out of. When you wake from that kind of sleep mid-afternoon, you feel worse than before you lay down. Slower, heavier, more confused. And that feeling, that fog, is not coincidence. It is your body telling you it was pulled somewhere it did not want to go in the middle of the day. The doctors in the modern world are starting to say now what my grandfather practiced without ever reading a single study. Long midday naps after 60 are linked to worse sleep at night, more inflammation in the body over time, and a cardiovascular system that struggles more than it should. That is a hard thing to hear if afternoon napping has become your comfort. But I am not here to take anything away from you. I am here to show you what we replaced it with. And the replacement is far better than what most people are settling for. Now, before I get there, I want to tell you something else my grandmother used to do, because it connects directly to what comes next. And it is one of those things I have turned over in my mind for years. My grandmother never sat still after eating, not once that I can remember. The whole community was that way. After the noon meal, before any kind of rest, there was always a short walk, not a long one, not a planned one with shoes changed and a route map, just a natural movement outside, 10 minutes at most, sometimes just out to the porch and back around the yard. And then the rest would come. I did not know then that she was doing something that affects blood sugar, digestion, the nervous system, and the quality of the rest that follows. She did not know it in those terms either. She knew it because her mother did it, and her mother's mother before that. The knowledge did not come from a study, it came from watching what made people well and what did not. When you eat, especially a midday meal of any real substance, your blood sugar rises, your digestion pulls blood and energy toward your gut. If you go horizontal immediately after that, if you sink into a recliner or a bed before your body has moved even a little, you are asking your cardiovascular system to do two large jobs at once in a sedentary position. For a body over 60, that compounding load is not small. It shows up as sluggishness, as a nap you can't quite wake from cleanly, and over years as a burden on the heart and the arteries that nobody ever connected to the afternoon resting habit. My grandmother just walked, and then she rested. And she did it in a specific way that I have not seen described anywhere in the modern world, at least not in words that ordinary people hear. If you have been staying with me, I want to let you know we are getting close to the part I have been building toward. The exact way we rest, the length, the position, the timing, what we do right before and right after, those details are not small. Each one of them has a reason behind it that you will feel in your own body within a few days of changing your habit. But first, I want to show you one more piece of this picture, because without it, the full thing doesn't quite make sense. Here where I live, the word we might use closest to what the English world calls a nap would be something like a quiet, not sleep, quiet. There is a difference, and that difference is exactly where most people over 60 are losing years of good living without realizing it. Sleep is surrender. It is the body going under in a way that takes time to climb back out of. Quiet is something different. It is the body going still while the mind loosens its grip, the way a hand unclenches, not because it has given up, but because the grip is no longer needed. You are present, but you are not straining. You are resting, but you are not gone. My father never set a timer because he never needed one. He had trained his body the way you train any skill to know the difference between sleep and quiet. 20 minutes in the chair, and he came back up naturally. He said his own father taught him that the body knows when it has had what it needs if you have not given it more than it needs. Now I am going to give you what I promised. Not as a prescription, because I am not a doctor and this is not medicine. What I am sharing is the way of life that has kept our people moving, working, and thinking clearly well into their 80s and 90s. Take it to your own doctor and talk it through. But here is what we actually do. After the midday meal, before any rest, we move for about 10 minutes. Walking is the most natural. Outside if you can, but inside if you must. Not fast. Not exercise. Just movement, the way the body was meant to close a meal. This alone, the single 10-minute walk, begins to settle the blood sugar, signals the gut to do its work, and prepares the nervous system for a rest that is actually restorative rather than draining. My grandmother knew this. Her grandmother knew this. Now, the English world science is confirming it, but you do not need a confirmation. You can feel it in your own body the first afternoon you try it. After the walk, the rest. And here is where the detail matters most. We do not lie flat. The position we use, and have always used, is somewhere between sitting and reclining, not fully horizontal and not fully upright. The head elevated, the body relaxed but not collapsed. A chair that allows this, or a couch with a pillow behind the back, works well. This position keeps the airway easy, keeps the circulation from pooling, and this is the part most people never hear. It makes it nearly impossible to fall into deep sleep. Your body will rest, your nervous system will recover, but you will not go under, you will not lose an hour, you will not wake confused and heavier than before. The length is 20 minutes or less. Not because some rule demands it, but because that is the edge where rest ends and the body starts to commit to a deeper cycle. My father knew the edge by feel. Most people, in my experience, can learn it within a week of trying if they are not fighting the urge to push further. And that urge, the pull toward longer, deeper sleep in the afternoon, is itself a signal. It is usually not a signal that your body needs more sleep. It is usually a signal that your nighttime sleep is broken. Fix the afternoon, and the night begins to fix itself. That has been true in this community for as long as I can remember. After the rest, and this is something I watched my mother do every single day without fail, she would open a window or step outside for a moment before returning to work. Light and fresh air after a rest. It sounds small. It is not small. The light tells your brain where it is in the day. It resets the part of your body that regulates wakefulness and sleep. Without it, the afternoon stretches on dim and slow, and the evening comes with you still unsettled. With it, the afternoon has a clean start, and the evening, when it arrives, finds a body that is ready to wind down naturally and sleep the way a body over 60 desperately needs to sleep. I want to say one more thing before I leave you with this, because it is perhaps the most important thing of all. And it is the piece the modern world most often skips entirely. The reason this rhythm works is not because any single part of it is magic. It is because the parts belong together. The walk, the position, the length, the light afterward, they form a single habit the way a fence forms a single structure. Remove one rail and the whole thing leans. My people did not learn these things as separate tips. We lived them as one continuous practice, day after day, season after season, generation after generation. And what gets built inside a body that lives that way is not something you can buy at a pharmacy. It is earned slowly, the way all good things are. You are not too old to begin. My friend, that is something I need you to hear. The broken rhythm can be repaired. The body has a memory for what it was made to do, and if you give it the conditions, it will remember. I have seen men and women in their 70s come back to something they thought was gone, not because of any miracle, but because they stopped fighting the body's nature and started cooperating with it. This wisdom does not belong only to us. It belongs to anyone willing to live a little more the way people lived before the modern world decided that productivity mattered more than rhythm. You deserve a body that serves you well into your 80s. You deserve to wake in the morning feeling like something has been restored, not just survived. And it starts, as most good things do, with one small change on one ordinary afternoon. Be sure to speak with your own doctor before making changes if you have health conditions being managed, because this is the wisdom of a life lived, not a medical guide. Tell me in the comments what's the one thing your body struggles with most after 60. I read every single one, and your answer matters more than you might think. And if you want to stay close, please consider joining us here, because next time I will share the way we eat our morning meal, something the modern world replaced with rush and convenience and has been paying the price for ever since.